Born to Run, A Hidden Tribe, Superathletes, and the Greatest Race the World Has Never Seen by Christopher McDougall. You know that stabbing pain that shoots through your foot when you run? That feeling like an invisible ice pick is driving straight up through your heel? It's something so many runners know intimately. The kind of pain that sends you bouncing from doctors to specialists to shoe stores, desperately searching for answers for any kind of relief. Our author, Christopher McDougall, knew it all too well. He loved running, wasn't trying to go pro or anything, just enjoyed the simple act of moving, but his body seemed determined to sabotage him at every turn. Injury after injury plagued him: ripped hamstrings, aching Achilles tendons, sore ankles, painful arches. The experts kept telling him the same discouraging thing: running is your problem. Maybe, they'd suggest with a shrug, the human body just isn't designed for that kind of pounding. Maybe his body certainly wasn't. Here's the thing, though, and it's a strange puzzle when you think about it. We see gazelles effortlessly outpacing lions, wolves loping tirelessly across snowy plains for days. They don't seem to need fancy shoes or orthotics. So why us? Why do up to 80% of modern runners get injured every single year, despite billions being spent on shoe technology? Why does an activity that feels so primal, so essential to being human, hurt so many of us? This simple, deeply frustrating question, "How come my foot hurts?" sent Christopher McDougall on an extraordinary journey. A quest that took him deep into the treacherous copper canyons of Mexico, chasing whispers and rumors of a hidden tribe known as the Tarahumara, or the Raramuri, which translates to the running people. These were people who, legends insisted, could run literally hundreds of miles without rest, without injury, wearing nothing but thin homemade sandals. They were fueled by ancient foods and an incredible, almost childlike joy for movement. They seemed to hold secrets not just about running, but about health, happiness, and human endurance that the modern world had somehow forgotten or thrown away. McDougall's book, Born to Run, became an instant classic, a global phenomenon that sold millions of copies and ignited a genuine revolution in how people think about running and footwear. It's so much more than just a running book. It's an adventure story, a scientific detective yarn, and a profound exploration of human potential. It takes us from the high-tech biomechanics labs at Harvard to the sun-scorched trails of Mexico and introduces us to unforgettable characters: reclusive superathletes, a mysterious American hermit called Caballo Blanco, obsessive scientists, and some of the world's most extreme ultramarathoners. Today, we're going to journey right alongside McDougall. We'll explore the secrets of the Tarahumara, question everything we thought we knew about running shoes, and uncover some startling scientific evidence suggesting that maybe, just maybe, we were all truly born to run. By the end of our time together, you might just find the answer to why your foot hurts, and more importantly, how you can rediscover the joy and freedom of running pain-free, just as our ancestors did. Are you ready? Let's begin. Our story starts, as so many compelling stories do, with pain. Christopher McDougall, like countless runners before and after him, found himself trapped in a frustrating cycle of injury. Every single attempt to embrace running, to maybe even train for a marathon, ended exactly the same way: sidelined, frustrated, nursing yet another mysterious ache. Doctors offered little hope, suggesting expensive orthotics, cortisone shots, or simply giving up altogether. Buy a bike, one specialist bluntly advised him. It seemed that running, especially for a bigger guy like McDougall, was simply asking for trouble. But McDougall couldn't shake this nagging feeling. Why should humans be the only mammals seemingly broken by their own natural movement? Antelopes don't get shin splints. Wolves don't ice their knees after a long hunt. There was something deeply unsatisfying about the modern running experience. The constant fear of injury, the reliance on ever more expensive high-tech shoes that didn't actually seem to fix the underlying problem. He remembered reading John Irving's The World According to Garp and being struck by Garp's spontaneous midday runs, that primal urge to just burst out the door and move, whether escaping fear or embracing pure pleasure. He wanted that feeling back, not the constant worry and pain that now defined every run. His quest for answers led him through countless specialists, biomechanics labs filming his clumsy stride, and confusing, often contradictory scientific literature. Everyone seemed to agree that running was hard on the body, but no one could truly explain why it had to be that way, or why some people, like the legendary Roger Bannister, could run incredibly fast in thin slippers without getting hurt. Then, while on assignment in Mexico, a photograph in a travel magazine caught his eye. It showed a man, robed and sandaled, sprinting down a rocky mountainside with amazing grace. The caption spoke of the Tarahumara, a hidden tribe living deep within the remote and formidable Copper Canyons, the Barrancas del Cobre. These people, the article claimed, were perhaps the healthiest, happiest, and greatest distance runners the world had ever known. They lived lives seemingly untouched by modern diseases. No heart disease, no cancer, no diabetes, no obesity. 50-year-olds could outrun teenagers. They settled disputes, not with violence or lawsuits, but with epic, multi-day foot races. Legends told of them running down deer until the animals literally collapsed from exhaustion, covering distances that seemed utterly superhuman. One champion reportedly ran 435 miles in a single effort. That's like jogging from New York City almost to Detroit without stopping. And how did they achieve these incredible feats? Not through rigorous modern training schedules or high-tech gear. They ran in simple, flat sandals called huaracs, often made from discarded tire rubber. Their diet was astonishingly basic, mostly ground corn known as pinole, beans, squash, and the occasional barbecued mouse. They enjoyed their corned beer, tezguino, frequently and heartily. They didn't stretch or warm up with elaborate routines. They simply gathered, laughed, and ran. They possessed secret recipes, like isquiate, a potent energy drink made from chia seeds, that fueled their all-day runs through the canyons. The paradox was absolutely maddening. How could these people, living what appeared to be a Stone Age existence, running far more miles on far rougher terrain in the flimsiest of footwear, be virtually injury-free? Meanwhile, modern runners, coddled in cushioned shoes and following scientific training plans, were constantly breaking down. The Tarahumara seemed to defy everything modern sports science preached. Were they genetic freaks, some kind of evolutionary anomaly? Or had they preserved a secret, an ancient way of moving and being that the rest of the world had somehow lost? McDougall became completely obsessed. He had to find them, had to learn from them directly. But the Tarahumara, whose real name is the Raramuri, weren't easy to track down. For centuries, they had retreated deeper and deeper into the canyons, fleeing Spanish conquistadores, greedy miners, persistent missionaries, even Pancho Villa's revolutionaries. They lived in caves high on cliffs or in camouflaged huts, preferring isolation even from each other. Finding them would be like hunting ghosts in a labyrinth. His first real lead pointed towards a phantom known as Caballo Blanco, the white horse. He was rumored to be an American, a gringo, who had disappeared into the canyons years ago and somehow earned the trust of the notoriously reclusive Tarahumara, living among them, running with them. If anyone could unlock the secrets of the running people, McDougall was told repeatedly, it was Caballo. The search for Caballo Blanco reads like a detective story, set in a landscape both breathtakingly beautiful and genuinely deadly. The Copper Canyons are a vast maze of gorges deeper than the Grand Canyon, a place with a dark reputation for swallowing outsiders whole. Jaguars, snakes, blistering heat, and a disorienting canyon fever that supposedly drove prospectors insane were just some of the natural dangers. Added to this was the very modern threat of rival drug cartels, using the remote canyons as their base of operations. McDougall, accompanied by a local guide and mariachi singer named Salvador Holguin, navigated treacherous dirt tracks, had a genuinely nerve-wracking encounter with suspected narcotraficantes, got thoroughly lost more than once, and eventually hiked deep into the sweltering canyon bottom. But it was during this initial trip, while speaking with Ángel Nava Lopez, a schoolteacher in a remote canyon settlement, that the legend of Caballo Blanco truly came alive. Ángel recounted the story of Caballo's first appearance years earlier, a tall, pale, near-naked figure running through the mountains, initially mistaken by terrified local children for a ghost or a soul of the dead collecting its earthly traces. Caballo, whose real name would turn out to be Micah True, had slowly, patiently integrated himself into the Tarahumara world. He lived simply in a self-built hut, ran vast distances wearing only sandals and shorts, and survived partly through Korima, the Tarahumara principle of sharing and mutual obligation. He respected their ways deeply, perhaps even more than some Tarahumara, who were being tempted by the encroaching modern world. There was a cautionary tale about the village of Yerba Buena, where a new road brought processed foods and wage labor, and within just 20 years, the ancient running tradition had completely vanished. Before leaving the canyons on that first trip, McDougall witnessed something truly magical. A group of Tarahumara schoolchildren playing Rarajipari, their traditional running game. They kicked small wooden balls for miles and miles, their movements fluid, joyful, seemingly effortless. He saw young Marcelino, son of the great champion Manuel Luna, running with absolutely breathtaking grace. And, crucially, Marcelino confirmed that Caballo Blanco was real and a friend of his father's. The white horse wasn't just a myth or legend. McDougall finally tracked Caballo down in the dusty border town of Creel. He found not a fearsome fugitive or wild man, but a lean, deeply weathered, intensely talkative man, who was initially wary but clearly hungry for conversation. Over simple bowls of beans in a hidden back-alley eatery, Caballo began to share his story, slowly opening up. He spoke of his past as a fighter, gypsy cowboy. He talked about how he'd first encountered the Tarahumara years earlier, not deep in the canyons, but surprisingly in Leadville, Colorado. This brings us to another absolutely fascinating thread woven through the book, the brief, explosive intersection of the Tarahumara with the world of American ultrarunning in the early 1990s. An adventurous Arizona photographer named Rick Fisher, nicknamed the Pescador by the Tarahumara, had this bold idea of bringing these legendary runners north to compete in American ultramarathons, specifically the notoriously difficult Leadville Trail 100. Leadville is a genuine beast of a race, 100 grueling miles through the Colorado Rockies at altitudes starting over 10,000 feet, featuring brutal climbs and descents that test every limit. It was created by Ken Klauber, a tough-as-nails former miner trying to save his dying town after the local mine shut down. The race motto perfectly captures its unforgiving spirit. You're tougher than you think you are, and you can do more than you think you can. Fisher's first attempt in 1992 was an absolute disaster. The Tarahumara runners, completely unfamiliar with aid stations, flashlights for night running, and ill-fitting modern sneakers provided by Fisher, all dropped out early. But Fisher, persistent and perhaps a bit obsessed with his vision, tried again in 1993, this time recruiting more traditional runners from deeper in the canyons. This team, running in their homemade tire sandals, absolutely stunned everyone. 55-year-old Victoriano Churro came charging from the back of the pack to win the entire race, with 40-something Cirildo Chacarito finishing second. Manuel Luna, Marcelino's father, finished fifth, despite his sandals literally disintegrating on the mountain. They weren't just fast, they ran with a startling ease and joy that completely baffled the hardened American ultra-runners who were used to suffering. The 1994 Leadville race became the stuff of legend. The media hype centered on a dramatic battle of the sexes. Could the Tarahumara defend their title against Ann Trayson, the utterly dominant female ultrarunner of the era? Fisher, feeling the pressure and seeking publicity, bizarrely stoked the flames by claiming the Tarahumara considered it shameful to lose to a woman, something completely counter to their actual egalitarian culture, where women were highly respected. Ann Trayson was a genuine force of nature, a science teacher who had discovered an almost superhuman capacity for endurance. She ran with fierce, almost frightening intensity, viewing fatigue as the beast, to be tamed and conquered through sheer willpower. The race itself was absolutely epic. Ann Trayson employed a daring, almost reckless strategy, taking the lead incredibly early, forcing the Tarahumara men to hunt her down, her own Queen's Gambit. She led for much of the race, pushing a record-shattering pace that shocked everyone. Two new Tarahumara runners recruited by Fisher, the poncho-clad Juan Herrera and his mentor Martimano Cervantes, relentlessly pursued her through the mountains. Ann even taunted Martimano at an aid station, adding psychological warfare to the brutal physical battle unfolding. Juan Herrera eventually caught Ann in the final agonizing miles, running past her with such apparent ease that it momentarily crushed her spirit. Juan won decisively, absolutely smashing the course record, with Ann finishing second, also obliterating the previous women's record. Martimano, despite developing knee trouble he half-jokingly attributed to Ann's witchcraft, finished third. The Tarahumara took 5 of the top 7 spots overall. It should have been a glorious moment of triumph, a beautiful bridge between two very different worlds. But it dissolved quickly into bitterness and confusion. Rick Fisher clashed angrily with race organizers and sponsors like Rockport Shoes, making wild accusations of conspiracy and exploitation. The Tarahumara, witnessing all this Chibochi squabbling and greed, quietly retreated back to their canyons, never to return to Leadville again. And it was during that chaotic 1994 race that Micah True, then just a long-haired runner helping pace Martimano Cervantes, he was the shaggy goofball on the crew, felt a profound, life-changing connection to the Tarahumara and deep disgust at how they were being treated like circus animals. He followed them back to Mexico, personally delivering donated winter coats, and eventually found his own place deep in the canyons, transforming himself completely into Caballo Blanco. He shed his modern running shoes, adopted the Tarahumara sandals and simple diet, and remarkably, almost miraculously, the chronic injuries that had plagued him for years simply vanished. He learned to run following the mantra, easy, light, smooth, and fast. He found not just physical healing, but a sense of purpose and inner peace he'd never known in his previous life. Now, sitting with McDougall over those beans, Cabello explained his audacious new plan. He wanted to reignite the magic of Leadville, but this time on Tarahumaras terms, in their own backyard. He dreamed of organizing a secret, invitation-only, 50-mile race deep in the Copper Canyons, pitting the best of the new generation of American ultra-runners, the young guns, against the legendary Tarahumara champions like Arnolfo Cuamare. He'd already reached out to Scott Jurek, the reigning, seemingly unbeatable king of American ultra-running, a 7-time Western States champion known for his incredible endurance, strict vegan diet, and surprising humility. Jurek, it turned out, deeply revered the Tarahumara and their philosophy. Maybe, just maybe, this impossible dream race could actually happen. This is where the book shifts gears again, becoming McDougall's very personal story of transformation. Inspired by Caballo and the Tarahumara example, he decides he doesn't just want to write about this legendary race, he wants to run in it himself. But first, he desperately needs to fix his broken, injury-prone running body. This quest leads him to explore the burgeoning, somewhat controversial science that challenges the entire foundation of the modern running shoe industry. He delves deep into the work of Dr. Daniel Lieberman at Harvard and Dr. Dennis Bramble at the University of Utah, pioneers of the born-to-run theory of human evolution. Their research presents a genuinely compelling case. Humans didn't just evolve to walk upright on 2 legs. We specifically evolved to run long distances efficiently. We are, in biological essence, the greatest endurance runners on the entire planet, bar none. How is this possible? Unlike most other mammals whose breathing is locked rigidly to their stride, we can breathe independently, allowing for flexible pacing and endurance. We cool ourselves primarily through sweating, with millions of sweat glands acting like a highly efficient radiator, allowing us to run in heat that would literally kill most other animals through overheating. Our Achilles tendons and the arches of our feet act like powerful springs, storing and returning energy with each step, making distance running incredibly efficient once you learn to use them properly. Our large gluteus maximus muscles, the biggest in our body, stabilize us during running. Even our relative lack of body hair and upright posture help dissipate heat effectively. But why did we evolve all these specific traits for running? The most likely, fascinating answer is persistence hunting. For nearly 2 million years, long before the invention of bows and arrows or spears, our ancestors likely hunted successfully by simply running animals down, chasing them relentlessly, often in the brutal midday heat, until the prey collapsed from sheer exhaustion and deadly hyperthermia. Louis Liebenberg, a South African mathematician turned anthropologist, actually documented modern persistence hunts with Kalahari Bushmen, proving it wasn't just an abstract theory but a real practice that required incredible tracking skill, teamwork, strategic thinking, and relentless endurance. Running wasn't just something humans could do for fun. It was absolutely fundamental to our survival and shaped our very bodies, and perhaps even our large brains and capacity for cooperation and complex thinking. This remarkable ability lasts surprisingly long, too. Bramble's research shows a healthy 64-year-old runner can be nearly as fast as they were at 19. We are truly built to run, and to run well throughout our entire lives. So if we're born to run, why all the crippling injuries? The book points a bold, controversial finger squarely at modern running shoes. The excessive cushioning, McDougall argues, actually encourages a heavy, unnatural heel strike, sending brutal impact shock straight up the leg into the knee and hip. It weakens the intricate, beautiful structure of the foot, preventing muscles and tendons from doing their natural, evolved, shock-absorbing work. Shoes essentially block the crucial pain signals that would otherwise teach us instinctively to run lightly and efficiently. Studies cited in the book even suggest, surprisingly, that expensive, feature-laden shoes actually correlate with higher injury rates than cheap, simple, basic ones. The minimalist approach, running barefoot or in thin, flexible shoes like the Tarahumaras huarache, allows the foot to function exactly as it was designed over millions of years, strengthening it naturally and promoting a lighter, more efficient midfoot or forefoot strike that utilizes the body's own brilliant, built-in suspension system. Even Nike's own internal research, spurred by observing barefoot training college athletes, seemed to quietly confirm this, leading to the development of their minimalist, free line of shoes. The final, thrilling act of the book converges on Caballo Blanco's legendary, impossible race. McDougall gathers with the Más Locos, the crazier ones, Scott Jurek, the wild young duo Jen Shelton and Billy Barnett, the eccentric barefoot Ted with his strange Vibram five-fingers-toe shoes, Coach Eric Orton, photographer Luis Escobar, and Luis's father. They make the perilous journey deep into the canyons, facing logistical nightmares, personality clashes, especially the hilarious tension between the meticulous Caballo and the loudmouth barefoot Ted, and a genuinely harrowing near disaster when Jen and Billy get lost and severely dehydrated during what was supposed to be a simple warm-up run. Race day finally arrives with fiesta energy in the tiny, remote village of Urique. The course Caballo designed is absolutely brutal, a 50-mile loop with punishing climbs and descents in searing desert heat. The race unfolds like a dramatic novel. The local Urique Tarahumara team tries to cheat by taking shortcuts and are disqualified, to Caballo's horror. Jen Shelton runs absolutely fearlessly, battling the lead Tarahumara men stride for stride, takes a nasty, bloody fall on the rocks, but recovers with grit to finish as the first woman and an incredible 6th place overall. Scott Jurek engages in an intense, respectful strategic duel with the champions Arnulfo and Silvino. He runs Silvino down, but generously encourages him to keep pace, showing true sportsmanship. Arnulfo proves utterly unbeatable on his home turf, holding off Scott's powerful final surge to win. Scott finishes a very close second, and in a moment that captures the spirit of the whole day, bows graciously to Arnulfo in a display of deep respect that absolutely electrifies the cheering crowd. McDougall himself, the formerly broken, injury-plagued runner, endures the entire grueling course, finishing dead last, but finishing nonetheless, running the final exhausting miles, right alongside his friend Caballo Blanco. The finish line isn't just an end to the race, but a genuine celebration of shared effort, camaraderie, and the sheer, primal joy of running. The faster runners don't leave. They wait patiently for the slower ones, cheering them enthusiastically across the line. The cultural barriers between Mexican and American, Tarahumara and outsider, dissolve completely in shared exhaustion and mutual respect. In the quiet aftermath, Caballo finally shares his own full, painful story with McDougall, his troubled journey from boxer Mike Hickman to Micah True, the cave-dwelling hermit in Hawaii, his devastating relationship heartbreak, his eventual flight to the Copper Canyons, seeking not just escape, but redemption and a truer, more authentic way of living. His race was so much more than a competition for him. It was an act of connection, a heartfelt way to share the Tarahumara's precious gift with the wider world, and perhaps to heal some deep part of himself. He firmly refuses any corporate sponsorship or commercialization, absolutely determined to keep the run pure, a simple gathering of friends united by nothing more than the love of movement. So what do we actually take away from this incredible, winding journey? Born to Run is one of those genuinely rare books that can fundamentally shift your perspective on something you thought you understood. On the surface, yes, it's about running, but beneath that, it taps into something much deeper and more universal about human nature, about health, happiness, and our often forgotten connection to the past and to our own bodies. The most immediate, and certainly the most controversial takeaway, is the direct challenge to the modern running shoe industry. McDougall, through compelling personal stories and emerging scientific evidence, makes a genuinely powerful case that our heavily cushioned, overly supportive, expensive running shoes might actually be hurting us far more than helping. By numbing our feet and encouraging an unnatural, heavy heel strike, they disconnect us from the ground and effectively disable our body's own brilliant, evolved shock-absorbing system. The Tarahumara, running effortlessly and joyfully in minimalist sandals, aren't superhuman or genetically special. They're simply human, naturally utilizing the incredible biomechanical engineering we were all born with. This core idea has sparked a huge, ongoing movement towards minimalist footwear and barefoot running, encouraging people everywhere to strengthen their feet and rediscover a more natural, efficient stride. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, the solution to our epidemic of running injuries isn't more cushioning technology or fancier gadgets, but actually less. But the book goes far, far beyond just footwear debates. It reminds us beautifully that running, at its core, isn't supposed to be a chore, a punishment, or something to endure. For the Tarahumara, and for figures like the joyful Czech runner Emil Zatopek, running is pure play, it's community bonding, it's celebration, it's freedom, it's expression. It's woven naturally into the entire fabric of their lives, not compartmentalized as exercise. Coach Joe Vigil's insight rings powerfully true. Perhaps the decline in modern American distance running, and maybe even some of our broader modern malaise and unhappiness, stems directly from losing that essential connection, from turning running into a cold business transaction, trading miles for medals, weight loss, or social media bragging rights, instead of embracing it as an art form, a joyful expression of vitality and being alive. The Tarahumara run epic distances, not to win prize money or sponsorships, but primarily to connect with each other and the earth. Scott Jurek, despite being a champion and competitor, beautifully embodies this deeper spirit by waiting hours at the finish line just to cheer the very last runner home. The evolutionary science presented is absolutely fascinating and reframes everything. The idea that our bodies were meticulously shaped over millions of years specifically for endurance running reframes physical exercise not as an optional add-on for health or vanity, but as a fundamental, non-negotiable human need, like sleep or food. When we deny that deep need, when we embrace sedentary lifestyles, our bodies and minds genuinely suffer, leading directly to the chronic diseases, depression, and anxiety that plague modern society. The Tarahumara, living active lives on a simple, whole-food, plant-based diet, offer a living, breathing testament to this powerful connection between movement, food, and health. Ultimately, Born to Run is a story filled with hope and human potential. It tells us clearly that the crippling injuries so many runners face aren't some inevitable price we have to pay. It suggests powerfully that endurance isn't just the domain of elite athletes or genetic freaks, but is our shared human birthright, accessible and achievable well into old age. It paints a vivid, inspiring picture of running not as solitary suffering on a treadmill, but as a joyful, communal activity that can foster deep connection and genuine well-being. Caballo Blanco's dream race wasn't ultimately about speed or winning. It was about bringing different, separated worlds together through the universal, ancient language of running. So how can you actually apply these lessons in your own life today? First, start paying real attention to your feet. Try walking barefoot on safe surfaces like grass, sand, or smooth dirt. Really feel how your foot moves, how it grips and releases the ground naturally. Maybe explore minimalist shoes very gradually, allowing your feet time to strengthen naturally without injury. Second, think consciously about your running form. Run tall with good posture. Take light, quick steps, aiming for that roughly 180 steps per minute cadence research shows can help reduce impact. And try to land with your foot underneath your body, not way out in front striking hard with your heel. Hills are fantastic, patient teachers for developing this natural form. Third, actively seek and find the joy in running again. Mix up your routine to avoid monotony. Run trails if you possibly can. Run with friends for conversation and connection. Leave the GPS watch behind sometimes and just run by feel. Focus on the simple feeling of movement, the connection with your surroundings and your breath, rather than obsessing solely over pace or distance numbers. Remember what Coach Eric Orton wisely said, "If it feels like work, you're working too hard. Run easy and relaxed to run far." Fourth, consider your fuel carefully. Look at the Tarahumara diet for inspiration. Simple, whole foods, mostly plants, nothing processed. You obviously don't have to eat barbecued mice, but consciously incorporating things like beans, corn, squash, and maybe even chia seeds into your regular diet could genuinely make a noticeable difference in your energy and recovery. Born to Run is ultimately an invitation, a generous, exciting invitation to question our assumptions, to explore our own often hidden capabilities, and to rediscover the simple, powerful, ancient joy of putting one foot in front of the other and moving through the world. It suggests beautifully that the ability to run long and run well isn't some rare gift reserved for a chosen few, but a hidden talent waiting patiently within each and every one of us. That was our exploration of Born to Run by Christopher McDougall. We've journeyed through the canyons, met some truly incredible athletes, and uncovered some startling science together today. But honestly, a summary like this is really just scratching the surface. The real heart and soul of this book lies in the full, rich tapestry of stories, the unforgettable characters like Caballo Blanco, and the sheer adventure McDougall recounts with such vivid detail. If the idea of running pain-free, tapping into ancient human strength, or just reading a genuinely thrilling adventure story resonates with you at all, I wholeheartedly encourage you to pick up a copy and experience it fully. Reading it isn't just passively absorbing information, it's an immersive experience that might genuinely change how you move through the world. You can find a link to the book in the description below, and if you found real value in our journey together today, please do give this recording a like and consider subscribing to the channel. We delve into transformative books like this one regularly, always aiming to extract practical wisdom that helps us all live richer, more informed, more vibrant lives. Your support truly helps us continue sharing these powerful ideas. Let's keep learning and growing together.